In 2017, the International Football Association Board, IFAB, put new provisions in the laws of the game to allow football associations to try something new. They borrowed something from rugby, and it's sin bins. Last year in the 2017-18 season, the English FA trialled sin bins across 31 different leagues, and they got some great feedback from players, coaches and referees. IFAB allowed two different systems for sin bins. One is System A, which means every yellow card would result in a sin bin for the player. System B is selected yellow cards by the Football Association would result in a sin bin. The FA decided to use System B, and they've selected dissent as the caution that would result in a temporary dismissal or a sin bin for players. Last year's trial for the FA across 31 different leagues resulted in 38% reduction in dissent across all of those leagues. 72% of players wanted the scheme to continue this season. 77% of managers wanted the scheme to continue this season. And for referees, 84% wanted the scheme to continue this season. So it's got a lot of positive feedback from all participants involved. In 2018-19 season, 61 other leagues will join the 31 leagues in extending that pilot, making sure that sin bin's working for all those participants before a fuller rollout next season, where it will be used in every league, Step 7 and below, and on the female leagues from Tier 5 and below. So how does it work? When a referee decides a player is guilty of dissent, he will show them a yellow card and point towards the touchline, where the player will have to go. That player will have to stand with his team for a period of 10 minutes in adult football and 8 minutes in youth football. Temporary dismissals can be given to all players on the field, including goalkeepers, but not for substitutes. If a player is in the sin bin and there's an injury on the field, the time lost for that injury also adds on to the player's sin bin. When that 10-minute period is up, or the 8 minutes in youth football, the player can return to the pitch. There doesn't need to be a stoppage in play, but it's down to the referee's discretion when he waves the player back on. If the sin bin hasn't finished at half time, that time remaining carries on into the second half. Similarly with extra time, if they've got 2 minutes left of normal 90 minutes, that 2 minutes carries on into that first period of extra time. If the player's still in the sin bin at the end of extra time, they are eligible to take kicks from the penalty mark. If a player receives a yellow card or a red card while they're in the sin bin, they're no longer eligible to play any part in the match, and they cannot be substituted. Now you're probably wondering, if a player gets a sin bin and then a caution for a non-sin bin offence, what happens? What if they get two sin bins? Well, we're going to talk you through all of the different scenarios that may happen in a game that you'll referee. If a player receives a sin bin for dissent and then gets another caution later on in the game for non-dissent, they're able to continue and play in the game. If a player receives a sin bin for dissent and then receives two yellow cards for non-sin bin offences, they are sent off and recorded as S7, 2 yellow cards. If a player receives two sin bins in a game without another yellow card, they are unable to rejoin the game but can be substituted at the end of that second period of sin bin. If a player receives a sin bin and then a yellow card and then another sin bin, the player cannot rejoin the game and cannot be substituted. Now, if you're looking for some way to manage sin bins during a game, there's a few different options. You can record it on your paper and use your classic watches that you use, or Ref6 has something coming very soon to manage all of this around sin bins. If you want to stay in touch and know when this is out, go to ref6.com and sign up for our newsletter at the bottom of the website. Enjoy the season.